Hey there, friends. It's me, your old pal, Cowboy Kevin. Thanks for checking out this little bit of a free bonus here on the main feed of How To Wrestling. We have over on our Patreon page, just after releasing our 3-hour length WrestleMania 36 episode. It was obviously, for many reasons, a unique WrestleMania, so why not check that out over on Patreon? And as well as that now, we will have our new pay-per-view classic series, where we go back and we review pay-per-views from wrestling's past that fit Joanna's brief. This time around, she wanted to watch something that had got silly gimmicks. It had Ric Flair and Bret Hart and maybe Macho Man Randy Savage. We put it to the fans to vote, and we've come out with a 3-hour review of Halloween Havoc 1995. All this, of course, will be available this month on patreon.com/How To Wrestling. But in the meanwhile, if you want a little taste of what it's all about, this is our WrestleMania 35 review from last year, which definitely seems like a lifetime ago. There are over 60 bonus episodes where we review all pay-per-views from WWE, AEW, NXT, etc., as well as a few little side ventures. That, of course, is available at patreon.com/How To Wrestling. You can also get Q&A videos from Joanna, sponsor an episode. As always, any and all updates and information, howtowrestling.com, or for inquiries, howtowrestling@gmail.com. But for now, settle down and enjoy this. Before the crazy storm that is WrestleMania 36, here is the relative calm of WrestleMania 35. You lovely $5 backer you. It's Kevin and Joe here. Hello.
Hello.
Happy post-WrestleMania season to you, Joe.
Huzzah.
It's come and gone, the biggest event of the year, WrestleMania 35 that is, and it was a long barn-burning show indeed, and this time, Joe and I, we didn't host WrestleMania for the first time in what seems like forever. We went further afield.
We were hosted by the very kind Billy and Alex at their lovely house. It was great fun. And you know what the best bit was? They have cats.
Ah, yes. Now, we were, of course, with our WrestleMania Primer episode, trying to prepare everyone as much as possible with fiber and strategy and sleep schedules and all that. But really, at the end of the day, we have to have a little bit of an editorial note here, which is you could have forgotten all that stuff. You didn't need to eat any fiber. You didn't need to eat anything at all. Sleep is for the weak. Any of these things, completely superfluous. If you have a cat...
Oh, I think, or a dog.
Or a dog, a contingent on it being a very good boy indeed.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a good boy.
It's amazing what a difference it can make having a cat around to keep you awake during a long 7-hour WrestleMania.
Yeah, because Adam was like saying at one point in the evening, he's like, this is weird. It's like the first time ever I've watched a WrestleMania where I've not at any point felt like I would be worried about falling asleep. Like there was no like, bleh, or there was no like, oh, I'm flagging. Because the cats kind of kept everyone on their toes a little bit. Like everyone selfishly wanted a bit of the petting action, but also...
Which lap is the cat going to sit on?
I know, I mean, it's Russian roulette, but every bullet is cuddly joy.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting show. I think it was a show which had a lot going into it. I mean, I think this is a card which we were very, very excited about. On paper, it seemed like it was going to be one of the grandest WrestleManias in recent memory. Joe, how was your kind of overall feeling about this one, having stayed up to watch it and had a day or two to digest it and all the bits to come after?
It was a fun WrestleMania. I think some of the outcomes maybe weren't what I wanted or expected. I think some of the matches maybe weren't quite as great as I hoped they would be. But then other matches were extra fantastic to kind of make up for that, and there was a lot of really fun booking of the show, and there were a lot of outcomes that, you know, I think we all were really happy with.
Yes.
So on the whole, I feel it was a good WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think it was very, very good. I was very, very happy with this WrestleMania, which, you know, the trend with me in WrestleManias has been like, I'm excited about this WrestleMania, then it will be bad. Or, this WrestleMania is going to suck, and then it will be great.
It's like Christmas. I feel like after Christmas we should do a debrief. Like, you know, was this a good Christmas?
How could we improve on this Christmas?
Yeah.
Was the pacing of this Christmas? Last year, there was a 7-hour Christmas. Can you believe it? They booked 12 presents. Can you believe that? Like,
that actually sounds great.
And the Andre the Giant Memorial Christmas dinner went down a particular treat, like. But yeah, I felt felt, and this may seem weird, and of course as well, this is taken from someone who, for the first time, was being hosted for WrestleMania, so I didn't have to, cook or worry about, where people were sleeping other than myself, all that great stuff. So I think there was a lot of stress was taken off of me. So I think I may be wrong in saying this, but it felt like for a 7.5 hour show, I think it ended up being, it felt quite well paced.
I feel the first half was way better than the second half.
Yeah, I think the final act of WrestleMania perhaps was where things maybe... But the match order was changed a lot, apparently.
If you were going to argue that WrestleMania is an act, how many acts would you argue that there are? Because I think there's like 3. I think it's like a Shakespearean play. Like it's like a Hamlet.
Yeah, I think the traditional 3-hour pay-per-view is a 2-act play.
You think it's 2 acts?
The traditional 3-hour.
Oh, sorry, 3 hour.
But this WrestleMania, I don't know. I think this is kind of like King Lear, and then at the end it's like, y'all loved King Lear so much, let's get ready for some fucking Macbeth. That's why I feel like it's a double whammy. It is 2 play length.
Yeah, so in that case, I think this WrestleMania, I'd say the first 2 acts were great. The last act, not so much. That's the only bit I was like slightly flagging on.
Yeah, well, let's get into it, because even though we're going to skim past the pre-show, as is traditional, we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 matches to get our teeth into. So while we're all fresh and peppy, let's get into it. Starting off with our opening contest. Well, I mean, starting off, we were introduced to our WrestleMania host, Alexa Bliss, who had no less than 4 outfit changes throughout the night.
It seemed to be her sole purpose was to come in different outfits, but then not really have much to say.
Yeah, and the outfits were like I'm not gonna lie, when you start off with a sparkle cord set, it kind of went a little bit downhill from there, because then it's like, oh, and now it's a sparkly cocktail dress, and now a slightly different sparkly cocktail dress, and then a third minutely different sparkly cocktail dress.
Yeah, I love outfit changes as much as the next person, but yeah, if you're going to go for that many, maybe a bit more variation.
I
Alexa.
know. I mean, Sparkles is a broad church, right? I mean, we can have a lot of different things going on there.
A lot of things can come under that umbrella category.
I'm surprised we didn't see any class of jumpsuit. I thought that would have been a WrestleMania-worthy thing.
More importantly, she really didn't say much.
No, she came out and she said, I'm the host of WrestleMania, which means that I can make a WrestleMania moment happen whenever I want.
And then she clicked her fingers and made a racist old hot dog appear.
What sort of a WrestleMania moment is that like?
A terrible one.
That's like when someone says, like, oh, I can make history. And then it's like, oh, yeah, but lots of history is like, wars and terrible people and stuff
Genocide.
like that. You shouldn't be clicking your fingers. So I was hoping that Alexa with this, maybe like they did with, when the New Day were hosting, or maybe when The Rock was hosting, we get some kind of interactions, maybe a little bit of comedy.
Maybe she could set fire to her own name.
I mean, that would have been great if she came out instead of a flamethrower, some sort of a sparkle thrower,
Because when The Rock does it, it's sad and boring. But when Alexa Bliss does it, I mean, that would be cool.
It would fit her character.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought was strange, is that Alexa Bliss's character is that of a very, self-centered individual. And she's been given this position of power, a WrestleMania host, which is far too much power, seeing as she can, book matches on the fly and all that. And all she seemed to want to do was smile and pose with a racist.
It was so cringe, that whole posing to Hogan's music thing. And she looked like... when you have that uncle that's not really an uncle who's come along to a family gathering, and you have to
oh no, he's liked all your Facebook photos at 5 a.m.
Yeah, he keeps saying these tasteless off-color jokes and laughing really loudly at them and expecting everyone else to laugh loudly too, because he's kind of a bit too drunk.
But it's okay, because he'll be gone in a cab by 10, so don't just put up with it for now.
And then he'll be gone. Only he wasn't gone.
No, he was just he hung over like a cloud, did Hulk Hogan.
Really bad fart.
Yeah, so, I mean, Hogan, for his WrestleMania weekend appearance, one thing that is worth bearing in mind is that Big E came out with a tweet saying, Hogan came up to me and he wanted to hear out my position and he apologized, which... That's great. I think that's nice that he did
great
that.
For Big E.
But yeah, I think that's it. It wasn't Big E he was insulting.
He's not all black people.
No, and I think, if he's made peace with Big E, that's awesome. If he's made peace with the New Day, that is awesome. But I think, Tights and Fights were saying, I think they put it best where it's like, all right, well, it's for everyone, this apology, though, isn't it? This shouldn't be the behind closed doors, times 2 bit.
No, exactly. It's I still feel it's gross that he's even here.
Well,
I hate that we even have to talk about him.
Well, he's there, and it would be strange to not mention him, but he was absolutely there. And I was just, with Alexa Bliss, I thought they were going to do something like where, because she always gets interrupted with Moment of Bliss. I thought they'd have Kevin Owens come out and say he wants to host WrestleMania, or other characters that maybe didn't have a lot to do, but it was just a bit throwaway. Yeah. Starting things off, we had the Universal Championship match as Paul Heyman stomped out and said, "No way are we waiting around 7.5 hours. If we don't go on last, I'm getting on a plane as soon as possible." I love that.
This is when my predictions, I realised, were probably going to be incorrect.
Yeah.
As I said in the WrestleMania primer, I was convinced that this match would just be 12 F5s, followed by Brock winning.
Now, everyone was of that opinion.
No, not you.
Well, no, except me. I was going to say everyone, in the way that everyone made all the mistakes that were terrible in the past, but there was the one smart person with his finger in the down going, "No, hang on a second, we should think about this." That was me, and everyone else other than me was saying, "Oh yeah, Brock's going to win again." But 11th time's the charm, folks. Because Seth Rollins beat Brock Lesnar in a match that technically only lasted 2.5 minutes, because most of it took place outside. Brock didn't look like he was particularly thrilled or eager to be involved in his match.
No, it is quite funny, though, in hindsight, knowing that he lost and knowing that he insisted to go on first. Do you think it was some kind of, rebellion act because he wasn't part of the main event?
I don't know. I think, It was a late change, apparently. This was not originally scheduled to start. The originally scheduled first match was going to be AJ and Randy, which came on after this. And I think it was a good call because given the nature of this match, that it was so short and it was just kind of like a bam, 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 and the bad guy's gone. Anywhere else in the card it would have been, I think it would have gotten a flat reaction from the crowd because it just would have felt like, oh God, and there's this match as well. Because I'll take your point that most people weren't excited for this one.
But I think they might have been if Brock had lost, and Brock did lose.
Yeah, but I think just there was a little bit of that capturing lightning in a bottle where it's like, whoa, it's going on first, and now he's won. It was just a little bit of an adrenaline shot to kind of, the espresso needed at the start of the very long day, the working day that was WrestleMania 35,
And they said that they did it so that he could sell t-shirts during the interval and then go home, which they did.
And although Brock Lesnar was not successful in defending his belt, he absolutely brutalized the traffic, I hear, on the way home. Absolutely victimized that traffic. And everyone who's making their way home at the end of that 7.5 hour show, Brock Lesnar was laughing on his jet to Las Vegas. So who's the real winner here? You happy to see Seth be Universal Champion?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, you're not filled with vim and vigor about old Seth Rollins these days.
It's the Universal Championship I'm not filled with vigor for because I'm just nervous that Brock's going to somehow get it back.
As soon as Saudi Arabia comes, Brock will get that buff like in The Sims where it's like blood money +3 moodlet, He just loves that stuff. Coming up next was a match which I erroneously claimed was going to steal the show, but a bright light in the audience had much different ideas, as the phenomenal AJ Styles pays his rent to landlord Landy Orton as he was one-on-one here at WrestleMania. I thought these two had all the kind of tools at their disposal to, put on we'll show you, we may not be in the main event or have a championship or we'll have a barn burner of a match. And it just didn't happen, did it?
I mean, it was fine. The match was all right.
It was grand.
But that light did interfere significantly because fans were just chanting, "Turn off the light," pretty much the whole time.
That's the worst when you're watching something. It's like, right, the fans are distracted and it's a large arena. So they could be distracted from anything from a beach ball to a fight to a sign to
Enzo being in the crowd, spotted.
Yeah, you really don't know these days. And so I was spending most of this match, unfortunately, Googling what's going on, and then it's a production issue with the lights, and then let's Google the lights. That happened at NXT TakeOver as well.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, there was a big massive cheer randomly in one of the matches. It was because a light got turned off. Now, They've been doing this a while, WWE, right?
Do you think they'd know how to set up an arena?
I mean, yeah, and not only they've been in MetLife like twice before.
Yeah.
That exact stadium.
So how does this keep happening?
I don't know. I mean, considering a 1 year WrestleMania, they accidentally set fire to a portion of the audience.
Oh my god!
It's probably a little bit better. Or the year where they had the 4 palm trees in the corners of the ring, and the people in the 4 corners couldn't see anything. Like,
wow.
So yeah, they turned off the light. But Randy Orton, with his Instagram post and protracted "I can't see 'cause of the lights" miming on SmackDown, was not a happy camper in this one.
I love my favourite Randy is when Randy's pissed off at something silly like this.
Oh, he was fucking huffing, puffing, and pouting in this one.
Fantastic.
I mean, I admit it is entertaining to see Randy Orton visibly upset.
By a light, of all things. Because that's the funniest thing. Like, obviously, it is very frustrating, I'm sure, to have your match overshadowed by something silly like a light or a timer or anything like that. But it's Randy Orton and AJ Styles, and they're both bad men, so sorry, it's funny to me instead that they're getting so worked up over it.
It does really encapsulate Randy Orton quite perfectly. Like this moment of Randy now, where he's had a long history of lack of professionalism in his youth. Let's just say he grew up in this company. You know,
whip it out, awesome.
But nothing kind of epitomizes the modern day. I'm a professional, but I'm still fucking ornery Randy Orton. Than this. It's like, what happened here? Well, there was a light, and it didn't distract Randy per se, but it distracted the fans, which by proxy distracted Randy, who then spent most of his comeback turning to the crowd going, "Look at my match!" So I was disappointed. I'm disappointed on behalf of Randy and AJ, because these are the veterans now. These are both guys who are coming up on 40.
I feel worse for the crowd who couldn't see because of the bright light in their face.
I mean, if the crowd could see, this would have been a different story.
Imagine paying however much it is for WrestleMania tickets now, and you can barely see anyway from half of those seats.
Yeah,
You're really far away. Cold. It might be rained on at some point because they weren't allowed to bring umbrellas.
Smell, TBA.
Yeah, you've got to sit there for 7 hours without any proper food because you just have to buy expensive hot dogs at the concession stand.
Yeah, what's that all about? I won't be able to sneak in an old roast chicken and some Tupperware, could I?
No.
This ain't Blade Runner, like.
It could be a weapon disguised as a chicken. So, yeah, I feel bad for them because that sucks.
Yeah, I think we were all denied the match that could have been. But we'll probably have the inevitable rematch. Coming up next, fatal 4-way match for the SmackDown Live Tag Team Championships. This was one which had throwaway, get all the guys on the card written all over it. And I think this may have been one of my favourite matches of the night, as we had the Usos taking on Aleister Black and Ricochet, Rusev and Nakamura, and The Bar. What did you think of this one, Joe?
Oh, I loved this match. This is one of my favourite matches of the night, I think. It was really, really, really good.
There were lots of flips and dives, and, I think when there's a lot of people in a match, you can just kind of go, oh, it's just kind of a throwaway thing. But then if you sit down, you look at every person that match is a total 5-star Bobby Dazzler banger of a performer. So this was only 10 minutes, but it felt like a really...
It felt like 20 minutes at least.
Oh, God. Aleister and Ricochet, I know they're thrown together, but they're really getting themselves over. Just they're impressive, Yeah.
It's great seeing them up against people like The Bar.
Oh!
So good.
Cesaro, when he was swinging Ricochet that whole goddamn time, and there was like a million other moves happening, and he kept going and going and going. It was special stuff. I really enjoyed it. Aleister and Ricochet as well, if you didn't see, they had a tag match on NXT TakeOver on the Friday against the War Raiders, and that may have been my favourite match of the weekend. I think that is one certainly should check out. I found it was very interesting with our viewing party, because we were the only ones who watched NXT, and everyone else was like super down or completely ambivalent to Ricochet and Aleister Black as a team. Like,
yeah.
Do you like seeing them teamed up still, or?
I mean... Well, I never really did like seeing them teamed up, TBH. I still think it feels very random.
I mean, yeah, Ricochet, the smiley guy, and then the dude from Amsterdam who's like total goth, like.
And sometimes I like the mismatch of pairings like that, which seem a bit random, but in this case it doesn't work for me, personally. That being said, it is quite cute seeing them do their joint sit-down Aleister Black thing.
Best! There was a great tweet I saw, I forget who it was, but it was when teacher says to get into pairs, and it's you and your best friend is sitting there together, like, yes, absolutely yes. So the Usos picked up the win here with their brand new shiny contracts, but all, of course, cannot stay still in wrestling as the Usos quickly drop those belts on SmackDown to the Hardy Boys, who were originally, I believe, meant to face the Usos. But I think, you know what, given that this got everyone on this card here, and the Hardy Boys, they've not lacking in WrestleMania moments, I think this was a better call all around.
Yeah, no, I agree. Definitely.
Coming up next, I might say possibly my match of the night. And yeah, I think I'm getting your point now here about the kind of the first part of this show really being a heavy hitter, because it's banger upon banger here now. Shane McMahon and The Miz in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Shane McMahon coming out in the symbiote Shane McMahon gear, dark-sided, all black. What do you think of his new gimmick with the ring announcer?
The best in the world.
Now, if you got a tie, I'm going to be yanking on that now, like.
It's great. So he's basically making the poor announcer say that he's the best in the world over and over and over again.
He's got like tears in his eyes. The best in the world again!
Please stop. And then on SmackDown, he came out and said, Shane, I've been threatened. Fans say that something sinister is going to happen to me if I continue to call you the best in the world.
Say it!
And Shane's like, well, it's not the fans you have to be worried about. It's me. Say it again.
Heel Shane. I'm loving it.
So good.
The only thing we were missing was I was hoping that as Shane was coming out all heel this year, I was hoping his heel children would come out with him as well, all in their little black outfits and whatnot, you know?
I don't think kids can be used as a heel gimmick.
No.
Unless they're stolen children from someone else.
Yeah, Raven found a way with the Sandman, but otherwise, yeah, with your paternal children, it's difficult to turn them heel in wrestling. This was Falls Count Anywhere. They went all over the place, and George Mizanin, who's now officially known as Mr. Miz, he got involved in this one as well, went into the ring to face off with Shane McMahon, putting up his dukes.
Fists up. He gave him a black eye.
It was so fucking funny.
It's the best. I think that's my favourite WrestleMania moment ever.
But George Mizanin, hands shaking, and Shane comes in, he's like, just hang on a second, I'm just going to pull him up here, because then you'll have your guard up. And he's like, thank you, Shane. Bop. They went all over the arena. They managed to find the one or two non-padded bits of concrete that Shane splat on. There was a point where they did a spill onto like a...
It was a buggy cart thing with a roof.
And Shane bopped off that and splatted onto the concrete.
Looked disgusting. Poor Shane.
The, of course, big finish of this one was the massive superplex off the purposely built structure, as Shane and Miz cemented their matches being awesome by falling off something very, very big indeed. I was very excited about that.
So we're right, we got Shane being thrown off something tall, not jumping off something tall.
Exactly. If you're a heel, you get thrown or chased off of.
Yes.
It's when you're a good guy that you pray and then you do a big jump, you know. Good Christian boy Shane McMahon always prays before his jumps. That's how you know he's a heel. He didn't do he didn't bless himself before he fell. But yeah, this one was like something that I was really excited about. And again, we had some folks in a viewing party who were not necessarily up to speed on everything and found that Miz as a face was a little bit strange.
Yeah, some people don't like Miz as a face, I guess.
I don't know, watch that video package and I think it explains it all.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm so over with the Miz being a face. I love it. And I love Shane being a heel. He's great.
I think we'll probably get another match or two out of these lads, I'd say,
I
at this rate.
I hope at least. This is the only instance where I'm like, yeah, okay, rematch. Yeah, fine. All right.
Because, you know, Miz, he's not the most... I mean, he's improved leaps and bounds even since you've been watching. But, you know, his best work in the ring usually is when there's a bit of drama involved or a bit of a story or whatnot. And I think the matches with Shane already are going to be like that because they have to be some sort of a gimmick or something special. So these two are ideal dance partners, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coming up next... Fatal 4-Way, again, tag team match for the Women's Tag Team Championships as Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, the Iconics, took on the Boston Hug Connection, Nia Jax and Tamina, and Beth Phoenix and Natalya. This was a match which I was just convinced was going to be Sasha and Bayley all the way. They only just won the dang things. And it was surprising, and I'm not going to lie, I'm very, very happy that the Iconics picked up a massive win here. They're the tag champs.
Yeah, I originally put the Iconics down to win for my prediction, and then I changed my mind. I was like, nah, the Iconics, my favourite, would never be given such a cool opportunity.
Never dream.
Never dream.
I think there's something to be said when they're doing WrestleMania weekend and they know there's a lot of people coming from all over the world. I think they like to have the big international win here and there because the Iconics, who are in America so hated.
Yeah.
But I think not just Australia, I think the rest of the world is a little bit more fond of the Iconics than they are in America. So they actually got quite a big pop when they won, which is really funny.
I love it. And then on SmackDown, they defended the belt against the most jobberish jobbers you could possibly find.
Yeah, seriously, one of their opponents didn't even have any eyebrows. Like, it was it's just such a funny stark contrast, because Bayley and Sasha, like, they go right up to NXT and like, we're going to defend this belt against anyone, and the Iconics are like, who's the worst tag team in Brooklyn? Can we fight them, please? And already I'm loving this as a storyline.
It's great.
So I think, yeah, the Iconics, they need something like a tag championship, I think, because it legitimizes them a bit.
I hope they hold on to it for a while.
Yeah, because the chase of someone wanting to beat these two assholes is such an endearing thing. I think that could finally get me invested in Bayley and Sasha if they're like, you know, they get bullied or picked on by the Iconics and they have to kind of come together and win. Because I think that Bayley and Sasha are just kind of like, remember our gimmicks? You liked us, remember? We're great.
We're not doing those anymore.
Yeah, it's just kind of a weird, toned-down version of both of our gimmicks together. So I hope that maybe lights a bit of a fire underneath anyone. Paige said on SmackDown she's going to be bringing up a team with her to take on the Iconics.
There's rumours it's going to be someone from NXT.
Now, there's not many tag teams in NXT for women. We've got, what?
No.
Io and Kyrie.
Yeah.
There's, Duke and Shafir.
Yeah.
Shayna and one of them. I can't imagine them bringing up two of the MMA ladies and not the third.
Yeah. No, I don't know how it's going to work, because my gut was like, yeah, I think it's going to be Duke and Shafir.
I don't know. They're so not ready for it.
But I don't want them to bring up Io and Kyrie, because they're too good, and I don't trust the main writers of the show to book two Japanese women well.
Is this because of Asuka?
Yeah.
Do you think with Asuka, their booking is the issue is that she is a Japanese superstar and they sort of historically struggled? I mean, you can look at Nakamura. They've historically struggled to put them over earnestly. Or is it that, like Vince McMahon allegedly said, this undefeated streak, it makes it unworkable? Like, I
think it's both, and also the case of being distracted by shiny new toys, which always happens on the main show.
I'm not going to lie. I love Asuka, love her to pieces. But in terms of, like, a group of two wrestlers who could literally just kind of, with their in-ring stuff, be doing something that's very different to anyone else on the roster, Kyrie and Io will captivate audiences, I think, just from their high-flying stuff. They're very different, you know?
Yeah, I guess, if they're booked well, but, like, they might not be.
You never know. It could be, what are they called?
Yeah, it'll be them then, won't
it? No, the lady who's got the song.
Yeah, I know who you mean, but I also...
Where it's like...
Aliyah,
that's it. Aliyah and... Vanessa Bourne, that's it. Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be...
You don't think it's going to be Aliyah and Vanessa Bourne, you know? No, it's so Willie Regal grimacing in the distance, like, what the fuck are they? So, yeah, I mean, there's going to be more women's tag teams brought up. If the Iconics, I like the idea of them, like, refusing to go to NXT, or like, going to NXT and then taking on another jobber tag team.
Yeah,
or like,
that'd be great.
We've come to NXT to source the baddest there is. Vanessa Bourne, Aliyah, you get out here right now.
I guess, okay, so if the Iconics are going to be champions
for
a while, and Paige is bringing up someone to take on the Iconics from NXT, in that case, I would be okay with it being Io Shirai and Kairi Sane.
Because it could just be a once-off, like, here's a team for you to face.
Or, like, even if it's, like, then going to be a proper feud, because I feel that the Iconics are big enough heels. You need, because if you're going to have some impressive faces like Io and Kairi, you have to have equal heels, I think, for them to go up against, which is why I love what they've been doing on NXT, because Shafir and Duke with Shayna Baszler has been great. Yeah,
and I think that's a really great way to get two shiny new wrestlers kind of over it. Not just because they're impressive in the ring, but because you like them as baby faces.
Yeah.
Because anyone is going to look like a fucking bright and shiny baby face against the massively irritating Billy and Peyton.
And I think especially, like, because they're not majestic by any means.
No.
Like, they are annoying and cowardly and kind of a bit crap, and I just love that against people like Io and Kyrie, who are just such heroes.
I love how they won the match as well, because like Beth Phoenix, I like the whole match. I was like, do the glam slam, Beth, do the glam slam. Her finisher, the glam slam, which is awesome. She did it to Bailey off the top rope, and then Billy was like, "Bleh," and stole the win. I was like, you stole a victory from the returning Hall of Famer, you ass, you absolute ass. Coming up next, a match which made people very, very hopeful, and some of us a little bit worried, but definitely one of the most heart-wrenching, goosebump-inducing, hair on the back of your arms sprouting up. It was Kofi Kingston taking on Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship. I loved everything about this.
When we were filling out our prediction sheets ahead of this show, we were looking at our sheets with kind of a bit of worry, because we were realising that if we had all the outcomes we wanted, you know, a Becky win, I think most of us agreed we wanted Kofi to win here.
There was one guy who wanted Seth to win.
Well, I think we all wanted Seth to win, but we didn't maybe all think it was going to happen.
But there was one young Irish little weed amongst the English roses who dared to dream of an Emerald Isle, and that Seth Rollins, Ireland's favourite son.
Right, all right. Let's see what your attitude is to Finn Balor later.
Oh, no!
But yeah, I think we were all kind of looking at this and thinking, oh, there's no way all of these guys we want to win are going to win. That's not how WrestleMania works.
Yeah, you got to have a bit of sweet with your sour, like.
Exactly. You know, you got to take your salt with your medicine. Disgusting. So I think a lot of us were really worried that, you know, that Kofi might not win.
Yeah, don't take anything for granted in WWE.
And
ever.
honestly, that would have ruined my WrestleMania.
And you know what? I honestly think that is true. It would have ruined yours. And not just yours, it would have ruined most people's WrestleMania.
I'm okay with a couple of shit matches. I'm okay with outcomes that I didn't want.
Yeah.
You know, I can even put up with Brock Lesnar winning. You know, I find it boring, but I will put up with it. But Kofi, after that build, not winning was just too much for me to handle the thought of.
My heart did go out. Like, I say most there because my heart did go out to one or two people. See, I was tweeting on the AE podcast, the HR podcast Twitter all night long, and a lot of the followers there, you know, we don't really talk about the modern product on that channel. We usually kind of stick to or Salt.
Oh, I see where this is going.
You see where it's going? There was a few people, and they're
How
not
dare
bad.
you? Daniel Bryan's the best.
No, they weren't like that. They were just kind of like, I'm a bit surprised. Kofi's in the main event. I mean, sure, grand, like, you know, but then the people are like, you motherfucker, Kofi Kingston has been sweating for 11 years. I'm like, yeah, but I've not watched it 11 years, you know? So I think there was a lot of people who maybe came into this and they were like a bit surprised that they had gotten this storyline, but it's like, hey, it's credit to the people involved in the way the story has been told, that they have harnessed this 11 years of being overlooked and ambivalence and good enough. And the one thing I didn't like about this was that they showed that video package at the start where they were like, Kofi Kingston making his debut, Kofi Kingston Intercontinental Champion, Kofi Kingston US Champion, and the years are rolling by, and it's like, you're trying to make out that Kofi has been slowly building up momentum these 11 years. Whereas the story really was Kofi came in, was impressive, got momentum, and then was told, that's it for you.
Yeah.
And he had maintained that momentum, oftentimes against the odds.
Yeah, I feel the promo packages for this particular feud weren't as good as they could have been.
Yeah, they didn't tell the story that fans wanted.
The thing that got me hyped up for this more than anything was reading a 2015 interview with Xavier Woods, where he says how his one goal in the WWE as a wrestler is to get Kofi over and make Kofi champion. He says he doesn't care what Stone Cold Steve Austin says about your one goal should be to get over yourself as a champion. He didn't want that. He wants it for Kofi because Kofi's the one who deserves it. And that was like, oh, yes. Yes, he does deserve it. I want Kofi to win. Oh, my God, yes, these boys love each other.
It's such a rare thing in wrestling where someone could be like, you know, anyway, you're taught in wrestling. That is, you got to be out for yourself. If you're not in the main event of WrestleMania, you don't want to be. What are you doing here? There's no room for being humble in wrestling. But to actually push against that and actually recognize not say your place in line almost, but like, you know, Kofi Kingston is the most decorated black superstar of all time. You
Yeah.
know, no one has won the number of championships that he has won. And the fact that every time I'm told that, like, you know, I've been told that a number of times, it's like, yeah, you know, this isn't a fact that's in people's head. The number of tag championships, US Intercontinental, it's an unblemished, unparalleled record. And I just think it's so amazing for someone like Xavier, who's, you know, the young guy. He's the guy who obviously, you know, PhD, up, down, multimedia superstar. He can talk for fucking days. Not to say that Kofi can't, but he's very much like the Millennium Man. He's WWE's kind of like golden boy in many respects. And to say, no, I understand that I could be an anointed one, but it's more important for this man who I've looked up to, my hero, my career, and everything that he's went through. It's him. That should be the focus. It's never happened in wrestling before. It's simply never happened.
I don't think it's ever happened quite that impressively, but like I'm thinking back to episodes we've recorded for this podcast, and all of my favourite wrestlers we've covered have always been of that attitude, though.
To be a bit gracious, to put people
Yeah,
over and
it's like,
stuff.
it's not about me first and foremost. It's about the product and about the storyline, about the people I surround myself with. If you think of like William Regal,
Yeah, that's true.
like he may not have been quite as ambitious for someone he wrestles with, like as directly as Xavier was, but he's still like he made an effort always to, it wasn't about him, it's about everyone else.
It's nice to see that is kind of, that's forefront now. That's not something which is kind of like, oh, behind the scenes, they're out in the open, they're saying this is what we wanted.
Yeah.
You know, and they did the promo on SmackDown where Big E said our goal was to change the culture, and you know, obviously it's early days yet, but the build to this, the way they unified everyone around this dream. And there was I don't know if you saw, there's this interview that Kofi did on Sirius Radio, and he was asked about it in his promo. He said, you know, you used the phrase people like us, what did you mean by that? And he spoke for around 10 minutes so eloquently, where he said, yes, I did mean, you know, black people, because you don't get to see black champions, and there's been a issue, and there's been a lack of black champions or black role models in wrestling, you know, on this stage or at this level. But he then tied it in and said, but it's not just that, it's for people who are like, have been working for 11 years and been told, you know, this is where you're at. He managed just to find a way to reach beyond, and I thought that was really amazing that he did that, because, you know, I remember when they took that picture a couple of years ago where it was like, you know, they did the picture, it was like Naomi and them, and they said, you know, black excellence, and that got backlash. And I was
What?
Like, yeah, it got backlash, because people are kind of, oh, you know, you're being very exclusionary. And I thought, Jesus Christ, wrestling can be a very toxic place. And the fact that they've managed to, you know, no one has pointed at this and kind of, and made it out like it's kind of, they were trying to be in any way exclusionary or anything like that. I thought that Kofi's story was so fucking endearing and heartwarming and so believable and so fucking emotional. And the match itself, kudos to both of him and Brian, because it was fucking magical. It was everything it needed to be. It had the near falls, it had just those moments where you thought, you know, in your worst fear was going to come true, you know, and they pulled it off. I was fucking in bits and pieces watching this one.
I was very nervous when Big E came out with his box and said, this is for when you win. Oh.
Were you worried about a heel turn as well?
Only because everyone kept talking about it, and so many people talked about it with glee. As in, like, I can't wait for Big E to turn.
Why would anyone want that?
I don't know.
It's just not the story, you know?
No, I mean, I said it before, like, if anything like that was going to happen, I'd much rather someone accidentally fuck up and Kofi turn. But no, I never wanted to see Big E or Xavier turn on Kofi. Absolutely no way.
No, it'd just be so distasteful. And you know, when they say going to try and change the culture, that's a part of it. Like, it's so often in wrestling, that was always going to be the way, where it's like the friends turn on each other.
Yeah.
And like, fucking hell, can you imagine that you're fucking a young child, or you're particularly a young black child, seeing a fucking a symbol like that of excellence on screen, and then they turn on each other.
Yeah.
Seriously, you think that's fucking the way to go? Like,
no,
you know?
I loved that the message here was, we're here for each other.
Yeah,
we're best friends.
Support your friends.
Yeah.
Love your friends.
Yeah.
You know? And I love that Big E and Xavier, they weren't wrestling. They were in the corner of their friends. Mm-hmm. And they were acting, you know, say they're acting like, but they were so invested in that was their role, and they were there to help their friends.
Yeah, they were there for Kofi.
Their promo they cut in the pre-show was like a main event worthy promo on their friend's behalf. I thought so fucking cool.
I loved that they had people backstage, or the other wrestlers,
Yes!
again, watching the match, invested, that they're all on Kofi's side too. I love that it tells the story of, like, you know, there's all these other wrestlers, no doubt, who've been wrestling for a long time and maybe haven't been given the opportunities that they deserve. And it almost, Kofi's fighting for all of them as well.
Yeah.
I loved that the box was full of their new t-shirts.
Because the New Day have got to get their fucking shit over, and I love that.
Did you hear about what the WWE did accidentally in the middle of this match?
What?
They started selling the t-shirts on their web store. So that kind of spoiled the outcome a little bit.
That being said, though, I do remember they did have a thing later on where Alexa Bliss was like, hey, we've got these new limited edition t-shirts that Daniel Bryan had made in case he was going to win.
Oh,
And
really?
it was saying, and still the planet's champion. It was an ugly t-shirt. It was like, figured maybe they were like, oh no, we made a mistake. Quickly, make up a t-shirt real quick, like, you know. But yeah, and I mean, I know this is Kofi's story. It was Kofi's moment, and I just think it's like just worth mentioning briefly, Brian, that he was such a great heel in this.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm sure there were a lot of people watching this WrestleMania who maybe haven't been watching this much wrestling the week to week, and maybe they weren't familiar with the whole feud going in. I'm sure there's a lot of massive Daniel Bryan fans who just came maybe to see him.
Yeah.
Who would have had to been part with the fact that he'd been a massive heel and booed by everyone. And I love that. He's just such great heel work that he managed that.
He, in the space of a year, went from the comeback kid to the absolute, like,
Yeah.
the you know, he got booed resolutely in that arena. Not a single person was going, Daniel Bryan. No, he was the bad guy, and he was there not to be fucking cool or to get himself over. He was there to be a fucking horrible piece of shit.
Yeah.
I love the bit as well. It was a really nice, that really fucking gross thing that Bryan does where he kicks the person in the face with their hands up. It's such a mean, horrible move. And when Kofi did it back to him, I was like, fuck yes. I was like punching the air. I felt it was so well done, where every time that Bryan was doing something that was like kind of distasteful or fucking mean or aggressive, that Kofi was right there at him and wasn't being like a putz or anything. He was fucking fighting for his life. Loved it. Kofi is the champion. It was a beautiful thing. Xavier bawling his eyes out.
Kofi's kids.
Kofi's kids. I was welling up in this one, like, you know.
His kids are going to be, well, at least the older one is going to be a star.
What, the boy who knew how to work the corner?
Oh
like,
my God, he was right up
with the
there.
t-shirt, like, you know.
Immediately, he held it perfectly for the hard cam. That's hard to do. I'm pretty sure that's what I would fuck up in if I was ever going to be randomly appearing in a WrestleMania.
That kid's working on his inheritance right there, you know. That's what he's doing. You buy a couple of these, like, you know, help me go to college. It was fucking great. It was pitch perfect. It was right in kind of towards the start of the final third of the show, and I felt if the curtain fell there, it would have been a perfect WrestleMania for me.
Yeah, but instead, from here on, I don't want to say it got bad, it just got sluggish.
It's hard to keep that momentum up.
Yeah, and I think we had quite a few big wins there, with Seth winning, with Kofi winning.
Unexpectedly, the Iconics winning.
Yeah, the Iconics winning, which I know was supposed to be a heel win, but come on, let's face it, we all love them. So then I think from here on, we were like worried about what the outcome was going to be for like the main event.
Yeah.
Other matches like that.
Well, we got around the Rey Mysterio injury in the United States Championship match against the defending Samoa Joe by having a 60-second match. And I was saying to you, there's going to be a match that's like, you know, just a few seconds.
I think we thought it was going to be Kurt versus Baron.
Yeah.
Hoped.
It was not. Samoa Joe got a 619, then choked out Rey Mysterio in a minute.
I'm fine with this being a short match. And you know what? I think WrestleMania should embrace more short matches, especially if they're going to try and fit so many on. Yeah. I think it helps with the pacing. I actually really like a little refreshing, it's like a palate cleanser.
Yeah, you can't have, you know, if you're going to have a tasting menu, you can't have beef, then lamb, then pork, you know, and then a big fucking dish of beans. You got to have a little something in between there, right?
A little sorbet. And I love this because, yeah, Rey Mysterio was injured. I really didn't want to see him wrestle a full match.
No, I would have been watching through gritted teeth and my fingers.
Especially against someone like Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
It's just scary enough as it is. So, yeah, I was very happy for this 1 minute match. It was good. I'm happy.
The next match was one which really failed to engage the crowd, and it left a bit of a bad taste in my mouth.
Did we get boos for this?
I think we got mics in the crowd turned down because it was a quiet match where Roman Reigns took on Drew McIntyre. Roman's first match back, singles competitor, since returning from his battle with leukemia, taking on Drew McIntyre, who's been consistently put over as like the most dangerous man on Raw, you know, taking out all these superstars X, Y, and Z. And I don't know, is it the WWE's fault for not treating Roman as being a very special thing and him just kind of becoming another guy a couple of weeks after his big return? Or was it them holding back on Roman too much and not showing you enough of him that, like, this match literally was just kind of like Drew beat him up one week and then next week it's like, we're going to have a match.
Yeah.
It did feel a bit...
There wasn't a feud.
No, it just felt like you're the opponent for Roman, who will definitely win. And I don't know what you would do in this match to make the crowd engage with it, but it was towards the end of the night now, we're getting on, and this was the first match where you could feel that the crowd were a little bit... Because they didn't engage with Roman. They didn't boo him, but they weren't cheering him. And Roman just looked a bit...
Down?
Yeah. Like, I don't see like the twinkle in his eyes was gone or anything, but you know, when he came out to do that match with the Shield at Fastlane, there was a bit of magic in the air, it felt.
I bet he is so bummed out by Dean Ambrose leaving.
Yeah, him and Seth both. There was interviews over WrestleMania, and they were literally like, hands and knees, please, for the love of God.
Poor guys.
Don't
I
go.
feel so bad for him. But you know what? I think I don't like the fact that they put Roman against someone who looks so much like him.
Yeah, it's so dumb.
We were watching with people this WrestleMania who don't watch wrestling week to week, and they don't know who Roman necessarily... Well, okay, they did know who Roman is, but they don't necessarily know who both Roman and Drew McIntyre is. And that is confusing when you're seeing these two little men in little black pants with long, black, wet hair wrestling.
Well, don't get me excited about Roman in little pants now.
I wish he was in little pants, to be honest.
And leave that fantasy booking at the door now. Come on now. You're just going to get everyone excited. The only thing I could have thought was to flip Kurt and Roman's opponents. Because imagine, they'd start to tease the thing where Baron was like, so what, you beat cancer? Like, so
Roman
what?
against
Like,
Baron. Oh, I would have loved that.
Because Baron has got nuclear heat right now. And I think that if Baron was in there, it would have made the fans go, you know what? Because I think they were a little bit apprehensive. And you know what? Rightly so, because you don't want to lean on it too much. But they weren't really like as leading in hard kind of going, Roman has just come back from beating cancer. Because it's been like 2 months now.
Yeah, I think someone like Baron as an opponent you're totally right. It would have been great. You could have had Baron being like, I'll go easy on you because you have cancer. And then have Roman beat the absolute shit out of him.
Yeah, that would have been a real great feel-good moment. Would have popped the crowd. You know, it would have really worked. Because, like, I'm at the point a little bit now with Roman where I don't want this to be like an albatross hanging around his neck. Like Roman is more than just his battle with cancer.
Oh, of course he is. But still, you can't just pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And this is his first match back, and it's at WrestleMania. I don't know. I just feel it's like almost insulting not to at least, I don't know, acknowledge it.
Yeah, by all means acknowledge it, but it just felt that like there was something missing from this. This was not like when Roman came back. I thought, oh, well, he's gonna have a great match at WrestleMania, and he'll have the crowd behind him, and that will be like the first time ever that Roman's been there. Coming out as Roman Reigns, not the Shield, just Roman Reigns in a big arena getting cheered. We didn't get that.
No.
And I don't know if that's naive of me to assume we'd get that. Maybe there's only so much nicety that we can get from a wrestling crowd in one night, and we spent it all on Kofi Kingston or whatever. But
I think it's potentially another swap that could have made it work better for me would be put Roman against Brock and have Roman win.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, it's their own fault because they've done that fucking 3 times already. And if they had even done it 1 time less, that would have been perfect. But yeah, they just went to the well 1 time too many. And you know what? I do like Drew. I know you're not the biggest fan of him. I like Drew because he mouths off in the ring and he's very over the top and dramatic in anime, like, you know, where he'll get dead in their face. But when the crowd is quiet and he's grabbing Roman going, you mean nothing to me. Well, like, why are you wrestling him at WrestleMania then?
Yeah.
You know? That took me out of it. And I thought the match was a little tone deaf.
I don't think that's good mouthing off, though. Why are you saying that to Roman Reigns?
That's what I mean. I thought it worked against the story, like, you know?
I know. I feel if you're going to mouth off, it has to be relevant to what's going on.
Yeah. I'd really like to beat you.
Maybe mention something about Dean abandoning him, or I don't know. There's like lots of stuff you could say other than just like.
He said some good stuff. He was like, "I broke the shield" and all that. That was fun, but it just
did he though?
Yeah, I mean, something else broke the shield. I think you'll find. Coming up next, No holds barred with a career on the line.
Do we have to talk about this match? Can we just skip it?
We absolutely do, Joe, because no match describes the kind of silly, over-the-top, little bit over the hill, wacky zaniness, and things can go wrong and things can go all over the place. A little bit of a train wreck, but I really enjoyed it for how silly it was. Talking about Triple H and Batista. Yeah!
We had Triple H coming out to a incredibly modern, culturally relevant in 2009 entrance reference.
Is that the graphics were from the PlayStation 1? And the PS1 Classic dropped last Christmas and people are hot about them 32-bit graphs.
No, I'm talking about the film that came out 5 years ago, Fury Road.
Me and Stephanie watched it on Amazon Prime. So, you know what they've been role-playing recently. Yeah, and not only was it the Mad Max thing, but seemingly Triple H was assuming the role of the baddie from Mad Max Fury Road as well, with the mouthpiece and all
even
that.
Though he's a face.
And then he was driving through the desert in the video,
Yeah.
through the CG desert, you know, he's going to go and get a wish from Calypso at the end of Twisted Metal. And then he came out onto the stage in his little Warhammer 40k Orcs car, and he wasn't even driving it anymore. He was on the back now.
Yeah, inconsistent.
Yeah.
And we had no Stephanie, who could have been Furiosa.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine that makeup.
That would have been great.
Would have been fun. But we didn't get that.
Now, Triple H was the good guy, so no Stephanie.
Don't understand that, to be honest.
Only bad guys have their significant others with them. That's why you and I are heels. Because we always have this, Joe's with Kevin, what a heel. Absolute baddies we are. So, Batista's entrance was both the greatest and the worst entrance of all time. I loved what they were going for, like all the suits and tie guys, all like the elite beat agents coming out for Batista, like hundreds of them, all the cars rolling up, and then Batista in his little pants gets out of this big Jeep and two hands slams the door and he's like, he's all amped up. He's fucking big stomps and walking, grabbing the ground. Basically, Batista came to the ring the way I used to run up the stairs when I was excited when I was 8 years old. I know about you, but when I was excited as 8, I would go away from the bipedal.
Yeah, of course. You kind of run up with your hands.
Yeah, exactly. That was Batista here.
I still do that.
Me too.
I'm 28 years old.
Not me. So Batista, maybe a little bit full of WrestleMania spirit, but he went up the stairs and people were like, oh, no. And I thought, no. Batista's just kind of stomping up them stairs like the animal. And then he kind of stomped through them ropes and he fell right down.
Aww.
He fell flat in his fucking ass.
Billy said that apparently Batista said in an interview that he always wanted to come back to WrestleMania to lose against Triple H, which I think is a bit funny, a bit strange. It's quite sadomasochist in a way. So I was wondering if maybe he wanted to come back to a WrestleMania, lose to Triple H, and embarrass himself in front of maybe like 60,000 people while he was at it.
Yeah, I think that was probably what he was going for, because he definitely achieved that, you know. And it just, very rarely in wrestling does the curtain pull back straight away, you know. To use an Oz analogy, imagine like when Oz just comes out. That's where it goes from like, what's this to, oh God. And Batista coming out with that fucking, the screen's all black, he's got the spotlight, it just felt like a Hollywood star who thinks he's better than you is coming out now in WrestleMania with his fucking entourage and his minions, and then he slips and falls. It was honestly like, it shattered the mystique straight away.
I loved it, and I think it actually was one of the best moments of the whole night.
But he's there, and then Michael Cole's like, Batista, he's so mean, such a monster. And then
No,
he
he's
goes over
not.
to his co-star in the new movie Stuber, and he's like, hey, all right, I loved you in Twilight Zone, man, awesome, all right, where's Triple H? Let's have a match. And it was like, oh my God, he went from monster to like, nice lad.
I can't ever see Batista as being anything but nice lad, to be honest. And I don't know if it's because I've not seen his earlier wrestling, but all I know about Batista is Blue Tista. He was the very funny Drax character in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
He was nice about James Gunn for Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yeah.
He beat up Ric Flair, that nasty, dirty old man.
He's your best guy now, isn't
And
he?
he has a cool blue nose ring. And then he fell over in the ring and seemed fine about it. And that shows humility.
I like what Batista's way to get around this is like, all right, I tell you what, I'll meet my co-star, do a lap around the ring, back in. You know? And he was, but by the time he was in the ring, he was smiling like, you know.
That's the thing. I think he just thought it was funny.
I mean, it is. And you know what? The only person who it matters to if it's his last match is Batista.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
I don't think it did matter.
So if he was cool with it, it's just there's a part of me that would like just thinks of, you know, we'll do an episode on Batista, and he's someone who maybe had, you know, some doubts about himself at points in his career.
Oh.
So it's just like the idea to me that he in any way was unhappy about his final match, that would break my heart, like, on his behalf.
Yeah, that wasn't really the career-ending match worry I had at the end of this show.
No. So him and Triple H, they had the standard, I call this one the Saudi special. It's two lads who probably should have stopped wrestling around 5 years ago, who are in the best shape of their lives, which has reduced their mobility. They're in the worst mobility of their lives. Wheezing, grunting to get through moves, lots of weapon shots, lots of gimmicks.
We had Triple H bring out a toolkit.
Oh, okay, this was the best bit by far.
And then he didn't use the Brawdle, which is the tool that I hoped he would use, that they never bother with.
Guess
he
what Joe was Googling during the WrestleMania
how
match?
to spell brittle. I thought he could give Batista a second nose piercing.
I want symmetry, Dave. Yeah.
But no, we had Triple H with a pair of pliers pulling out Batista's nose ring.
There will be no ring here tonight.
Which is literally what my mum threatened to do when I came home with a nose piercing.
Wow, did she put her career on the line at least when
No,
she did that? No, what the
not
fuck,
even.
like? Ridiculous. That was great. Although I will say, Triple H, between that and the pliers on the fingers and all that.
Yeah.
You've been watching your Pete Dunne and Randy Orton matches there, have you, Triple H?
He basically just nicked it from two other wrestlers, yeah.
Two men who at points in their career has considered Triple H a mentor, like, you know.
Yeah.
You remember in Star Wars when Yoda nicked Luke Skywalker's lightsaber in X-Wing and took it for a joyride?
I think the most maddening thing about that is those two moments were easily the only good moments of this match.
Yeah.
Everything else about this match didn't need to happen.
It's clunky, like, yeah.
It was clunky, it was kind of dull. Just didn't need to happen. So I'm really resentful that the two good moments of this match were both nicked from Pete Dunne and Randy Orton.
And all I'll say is, though, if we didn't have those two moments, I would have been sour like a fucker about this match.
Yeah.
You know? Finish came when Ric Flair gave Triple H the sledgehammer, getting a bit of revenge there for Batista. But, like, you know, Batista couldn't even really take the pedigree, you know? It's just... It's nice, I get it, but I got the vibe of this that I got from when Sting fought Triple H, you know, or when Undertaker had many of his matches recently, where it feels like there's an element of the fan base that really wants us to see these people no matter what, and no one wants to see these people in the ring no matter what, and the people themselves just want to go out there and do it one more time. This match was like the second longest match on the card.
Oh, it didn't need to be.
And it
felt
didn't
like
need
40
to be.
minutes.
You know? I'm all for the guys of yesteryear going out for the glory days, but you know who really set the precedent on how to do it? Remember when Goldberg and Lesnar 2 years ago, and they went out and they had a fucking 3-minute match, and they beat the shit out of each other. It was intense. You saw them do all the stuff that you wanted them to do, and that was it.
Honestly, anytime an older veteran gets involved in WrestleMania, I think it should be under 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And definitely under 10. Like, never, ever should it go over 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Sorry, I say 25 as it being it is the longest match. It does beat Kofi Kingston and Bryan by a whole minute, so it was the longest match on the card.
That is fucking nonsense. It shouldn't have been. And you know what else? I am resentful of the fact that so many of these older wrestlers now are going away, getting super hench and muscly, and then coming back and they can't fucking wrestle.
Yeah.
Go off, go do DDP yoga. It's been shown to improve your mobility and flexibility.
Lean it back.
Arms
out to a T.
Clench your glutes. Hold it tight.
Hold it tight. Everything on you should be tight, Batista, you know?
I don't care about the glamour muscles. I care about whether or not they can fall on their back with ease.
Yeah. You know, back in the day on pay-per-views, the next night on Raw, they'd be like, oh, you missed a hell of a show last night, and they would show you still images courtesy of WWE Home Video or courtesy of the pay-per-view broadcaster. I kind of feel like these guys are still wrestling thinking, well, tomorrow night when they show those stills on Raw, we gotta look our best, you know? Because in still images, this probably looked great, but in motion, it was not as great. Like,
no,
you know?
It wasn't. And honestly, I think if it had just been the two nicked moments instead of all the rest of this attempt at wrestling, it
Yeah.
would have been a much better match.
Absolutely. And think about it as well, if Batista didn't trip and fall, it would have been 25 minutes.
I liked him tripping and falling. I wouldn't get rid of that. I'd keep
that was your
in.
highlight, yeah.
I'd deliberately do that, actually.
Next year, if Batista is going to come out of his retirement, I suggest he breaks through a wall, like, on Flair for the Gold.
See, this is the thing, right? I hated it when Titus O'Neil fell over. I felt really bad for him because he doesn't need people to joke about that shit any more than they already joke about him falling over all the time. And his job is a wrestler. Batista is a famous Hollywood actor. He doesn't need this.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't care if he falls over.
It happens, and Vince McMahon, he's slipped and gone through the ropes so many times.
Yeah, not only that, he ripped both of his quads and had to sit in the middle of the ring while he cut a bit of a promo.
Well, yeah, at least Batista didn't get injured doing it, like. Coming up next, Kurt Angle's farewell match as WrestleMania's favourite son, Baron Corbin, who's also Brooklyn's favourite son. I think that's his new thing. He's going to be whoever's favourite son.
I like it.
Took on Kurt Angle in the farewell match. This is the match which I had definitely thought was going to be the 10-second type of thing. I'd done everything from assume there was going to be a run-in from maybe John Cena. We'd have another match. Something was going to happen. It was like all of Kurt's matches he's had in his most recent run. It was kind of slow. German suplexes. Can't go like we used to go.
I feel like now is a good time to mention John Cena.
Yeah, because John did have a moment. He did come out.
He did have a moment,
during
yes.
Elias's concert.
We really thought he was going to come out for this Kurt Angle match.
Everyone did.
Everyone did. Oh, I'm so gutted that he didn't.
What did you think of Cena's rap and stuff?
I hated it.
Did you?
I absolutely hated it. And I know lots of people loved it and thought it was legendary, whatever. I hated it. I absolutely hated it so much.
Why did you hate it? Because, we did touch on Thugonomics Cena when we first did How to Cena way back.
He was like 20 when he did it, so
Yeah.
that was like 20 years ago, for one. Also, rap was kind of a bit more like... It was kind of okay for awkward white men to be kind of cringy street rap.
Well, it was meant to be a heel thing. He was the kind of the white boy rapper, like, you know, which was definitely on the cultural zeitgeist of the time,
Which I just don't think... I don't think it really necessarily worked that much even then, but it certainly doesn't work now, post-hair transplant.
Yeah. Well, he had a hat on, he had a lid on.
I don't care. Once you are old enough to have a hair transplant, you shouldn't be doing Dr. Thugonomics anymore.
Well, there was a very sad promo with interview, I should say, with John Cena afterwards, where they were like, "Hey, John, tell us about your WrestleMania moment." He's like, "Well, thought I'd come back and just do this to give fans a little bit of a blast from the past because honestly, that's the one rabbit I have left in my hat and I don't know what else to do."
Just come out and be John Cena, like normal.
I don't know.
He could have literally just come out, spoken to Elias as his normal John Cena self.
I watched Cena do that whole gimmick originally.
Yeah.
And solely from it was nice for me as a long-time fan of his to see him do that, get a reaction from the crowd as he did. I managed to do it where it was edgy, but not in poor taste. Like all of his raps back in the day were poor taste. I like that he was self-deprecating a bit. We made fun of his movies and stuff like that. But I take the point that it was like just not what people were expecting.
No. Or what people wanted.
People wanted lots of different things at this point in the card, And onto, of course, as we were talking about, Baron Corbin and Kurt Angle. I don't think I wanted a 6-minute back and forth match that was pretty much exactly the same as that match that they had on Raw, where it was just a bit slow, and it really undermines what you're trying to do with Kurt getting a younger guy over when Baron is legitimately so fast, but he can't show that in this match because Kurt can't go at that speed. So It just like Baron really felt like he was playing with kid gloves almost,
Yeah, but similarly, Baron Corbin, although he's fast, he's not a good enough wrestler to
he can't
carry,
overcompensate, to
carry someone like Kurt Angle, which you'd have to be quite talented to do that. So yeah, I kind of hated this match, to be honest, and I feel really bad for Kurt Angle, and I feel kind of bad for Baron Corbin as well.
So Kurt went for the moonsault, which missed, and then Baron hit the end of days. We got the 1, 2, 3. Highlight of it was Baron going "Bleh!" when he won. That was great. But then Kurt grabbed the mic, and I don't. This was an emotional WrestleMania. I nearly cried at this moment as well. Last year was just Rusev. This year, 2 times I nearly cried. And this was like more of a cry out of sadness because when Kurt just grabbed the mic and he's like, I know we're all kind of disappointed. It's not what we wanted. But I just wanted to say thank you. And I want to hear those words which have epitomized my career one more time. You suck. You know, talk about tone deaf. I don't like that. Like, fans chant you suck and all that, but don't be like, tell me I suck one last time. You know,
after I've lost to Baron Corbin. He has a Minions tattoo on his foot.
Say, Joe, why did you tell me that?
Why
did you tell me that?
Because I know this, and now everyone else has to know it as well. It's the curse.
This is it. Like, how do you wrestle? You just kind of find out stuff about wrestlers you don't want to know. Turns out Stone Cold Steve Austin's personal life is all over the place. Also, Baron Corbin's got a Minions tattoo. Enjoy yourselves. Thanks for being a fucking $5 backer.
For some reason, it's worse that it's on his foot.
Because you know he's ashamed of it as well.
And it's not even like the normal Minion. It's a Minion wearing like that horror mask.
Yeah, it's a Jason Voorhees
That's
Minion.
The one.
Yeah. That's my favourite of all the Minions. Well, it left a bad taste in the mouth. It was sad. Kurt signed a new contract as well to be...
What?
Yeah, he signed a new contract. You're the one who told me that.
Oh,
sure.
wait, you mean as a backstage?
As a backstage guy. He's there as a talent, not as a on-screen performer necessarily. So he's going to be there. I would like to see Kurt Angle be a manager. You know, as to mentor someone on screen. Perhaps a heel. I'd love to see him be Chad Gable's manager. Someone like that I think would be really cool for Kurt. Because Kurt being all smiley and pointing and telling people to tell him to suck, we've had 2 years of it now. It's enough. You know?
I think if he's going to be Chad Gable's manager, I'd be fine with that. I would like that. But other than Chad Gable, I don't want him to be anyone else's manager.
Might be a bit, and him as a general manager again. No. I want something. You know, the Kurt Angle goodwill 2-year victory lap of we're happy to have you back. You know, I am happy that Kurt's back. I'm so happy that he was able to at least go out and wrestle, and he's clean and he's healthy and he has been for a while. It's not the Kurt Angle we were used to. He's well aware of that, folks. You could see it in his fucking eyes.
I feel that Kurt can do the most good for Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
If she's going to continue with the company. Because she's doing this whole leaning into being a heel ex-MMA fighter now, saying, oh, wrestling sucks. It's not even proper like the type of fighting I've done. And I think that's so similar to what Kurt was doing with his I'm a Olympic gold medalist with a broken freaking neck, but why don't you cheer for me type angle. I think he could really teach her so much of the business and so much of how to gain the right kind of heel heat. Yeah,
absolutely. So fingers crossed that Kurt will, you know, I'm glad that he's in the company because I think he's just one of those guys who, like we said when we did our episode first, is like the knowledge alone from him is the reason you'd want to have him employed forever. He's like in that kind of William Regal category of he can do things that no one else can do. You need to learn from that, you know. So not the end we were hoping for Kurt Angle. You know, certainly when we started this podcast and you know, when you first laid eyes on Kurt, did you think this would be how the journey ended for him?
That he would lose in his retirement match to a man with a Minions tattoo? No, I didn't think that.
Are you salty, as a fan?
Yes, I am. I'm really not looking forward to doing our Kurt Angle Revisited episode at some point.
Would you want him to come out of retirement to have another match?
No.
Why?
Because he can't do it.
Yeah.
Unless it was going to be against someone who can really carry him.
Tag match or something.
Maybe,
you know?
Yeah.
Because that was when Kurt, you know, the best matches Kurt's had since they come back. The match with Ronda and Triple H and Steph, and when he was in the Shield match.
Maybe that's it. He should take over Dean's place.
Maybe, yeah, be permanent Shield member. But you know, it's over. I think for now.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if Kurt will ever kind of come back on that. But it's just when wrestlers retire, and you can see the look in their face where it's like, I'm not happy with that.
No.
And Kurt had that look, and any wrestler who's ever had that look, we call that the funk gaze. Or Foley's eye. Those are what we call them, and that usually means that we'll be back. I think he will come back because I don't think Kurt Angle is going to be happy with that. It might be that Kurt goes out and he's fucking wrestling some indie show somewhere, goes to Japan or something when his contract is up. But I seriously would be surprised if in 5 years from now Kurt Angle hasn't wrestled at least one more time. you know. But that's just me, old doom and gloom man.
If you're going to have him be beaten so quickly by someone, why Baron Corbin? Like, swap it around again. Put him against Drew McIntyre.
I mean, Baron is a big enough heel that he doesn't need that.
No, but like, imagine how good it would have been, right? You remember when we went to see that Raw and Drew McIntyre did the ankle lock?
Yeah, he tapped out Kurt, yeah.
And like Kurt Angle was like crying.
That would have been a better
Have
finish.
Drew McIntyre then finish the job. Have
Yeah.
him retire Kurt Angle.
Absolutely, because
That would have worked.
That would have worked, and that would have gotten. Because Baron, you don't like him because he's a fucking dick, you know.
Yeah.
You're not meant to like Drew because he's a fucking sadistic monster.
Because I'm scared of him.
I remember being so scared and sad seeing Kurt tap out like that, and yeah, I think the tears would have flowed here if we had that type of a match. That would have been very emotional.
Yeah.
Coming up next, the Demon Finn Balor took on Bobby Lashley with Lio Rush. Special shout out to Lio Rush with an immaculate look at WrestleMania weekend. Love that sweatsuit, baby. And Bobby Lashley, who has become a Witcher, which is good to know. Hailing from Kaer and the almighty Bobby Lashley. If he's not going to beat you in a wrestling match, he's going to lay down some Gwent, old school style. It was a very, very, very short match.
I don't really remember much of it.
Literally, like,
I spent most of it admiring Finn's new body paint, I think.
yeah, he had a new paint. I mean, he
Yeah.
still had the weird dreadlocky things, which are a bit,
Retire the dreadlocks.
Retire the dreadlocks. What do you think of the demon, the entrance coming up from on high, all
That
that
was
jazz?
cool. Yeah, it was good. Shame that the entrance was longer than the match.
I think they should have kept that a secret. Because they kept it a secret would have really been
Yeah.
exciting that the demon is here, you know. You don't need to advertise
And
that.
you certainly don't need to have Finn Balor dressed as the demon advertise it and going, "Bleh." Ooh.
Speaking of blur, that vulture puppet we saw on Raw.
Oh man. What is going on?
Bray Wyatt. Guarantee you.
But how can he be a bird in a box?
Because all I've heard is that Bray's coming back and they have a new creative direction for him, and the character is going to go through a lot of changes, and I just think it's going to be creepy, like Pennywise the Clown,
It
horror
is
movie
not
stuff.
like that is ridiculous.
I know, but it's done by WWE, so
it's like the gobbledygooker. It's nothing like Pennywise.
remember the gobbledygooker?
course.
This is him now. Feel old yet? So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be Bray. That thing. So yeah, that's to look forward to. Which means maybe the demon will be taking on Sister Abigail after all, Joe. All these years later, that door's gonna get shut.
Well, Sister Abigail is a bird.
Sister Abigail's just some bird. Yeah. So yeah, Finn picked up the win very, very quickly in this one with his demon powers, regained the Intercontinental Championship. But hey, it's main event time, and for the first time ever, the women are headlining as Becky Lynch took on Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair. Triple threat, winner takes all. Winner takes all for the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships. Charlotte Flair gets my WrestleMania entrance of the year, coming in a goddamn helicopter.
Yeah, that was very cool.
With an outfit change, because you can't wear a robe in a helicopter. Leather jacket for the copter. Then we get the robe for the walk to the ring. Fucking brilliant.
Red carpet, men putting the robe on her.
Oh man, it was so great. And I love that Charlotte Flair seems to now be effortlessly channeling but surpassing her father, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Because it'd be the thing that Ric Flair would show up in a limousine a mile long or whatever, but here's Charlotte in a fucking helicopter.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yes!
Way cooler. Especially, I think as a woman, it definitely sends a different message coming out of a stretch limo than it does coming out of a helicopter.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a way that it wouldn't be the same message with a man.
I think coming out of a chopper is a power play.
Yeah, it is. It's a total power play, yeah.
So, Becky, Ronda, Charlotte, a triple threat match. A lot of hype going into this one. How was this one for you, Joe?
I enjoyed this match. It was good, but it wasn't great, in my humble opinion.
Was it as good as you had kind of hoped it to be?
No, it wasn't.
I think they suffered from it being a triple threat. And
Yeah.
Ronda Rousey has taken to wrestling like a duck-to-duck wrestling. However, triple threats are not everyone's cup of tea. And it felt this one struggled to get all three involved all the time. There was a lot of out of the ring and in the ring and
The pacing was a bit strange. I don't know. It was a strange match. How long was it?
It was 21 minutes.
God, it's long, isn't it?
It felt like 10.
It didn't feel long enough at all.
Yeah, honestly, this is saying a lot that at the end of a 7.5-hour WrestleMania, I was going, now I want another 5 minutes, lads.
Yeah, like
at
least. I think I was after another 10.
More? How dare you ask for more? Fine, the next year WrestleMania is going to be 29 hours. Ugh.
I think they talk about the psychology of a match, don't they? And I feel this didn't have it. Like, we had a table, but not table spots.
Oh, that was, you know what, I think it's that finish is really what soured it for a lot of people.
It just felt like it was leading up to a big moment that never came.
I think the best moments in the match were honestly when it just came down to Becky and Charlotte face to face, which is not what I thought, because I thought, I've had my fill of that, but with a lot of face-offs and a lot of confrontations. I'll be honest, it's a match that, out of every match this weekend at WrestleMania, it's the match I want to rewatch the most, because I kind of feel like I didn't get it or something like that. Like, I feel like I don't want to fault the match kind of thing. I just feel like maybe I've not watched it with a clear enough head. Obviously, there was a long day of wrestling watching beforehand. Maybe with a few days and it's all cooled down, I could judge it a bit better. But I think the only thing that's sticking in my mind the most is that finish.
For me, it's just not the main event of WrestleMania worthy moment I think that it deserved, considering it's the first ever for women. But I had high standards going into this, and I knew I had high standards. But then I don't think that's unfair.
Yeah, I mean, it was being hyped up. These are three of the most engaging performers in wrestling this year. I mean, I can't think of a match that I've enjoyed more than Ronda and Charlotte at Survivor Series. And honestly, that match, I think, blew this one out of the water. But that's just me. Nothing has been as electrifying as Becky and Ronda's exchanges on TV. It's been fucking great stuff.
You know what? I think that's it. It's the fact that all the hype up to this has been way more climactic than the actual match. Like, we've had them beating the absolute crap out of each other in
with crutches,
in cars, being handcuffed, being arrested.
Like, that segment was way more exhilarating
we've had
than
bleeding,
the match.
We've had black eyes, we've had broken noses. And then we had this, which didn't even have a broken table.
Yeah. It's got a broken hand. Ronda broke her hand, though.
Yeah, but even that wasn't really like...
It just... Ronda... I remember at one point, Ronda came into the ring and there was a close-up. And she was battered.
Yeah, her leg.
Leg was covered in bruises, burst blood vessels, scrapes, tears, scratches. And I was like, how did this happen? I didn't understand what was going on. Like, they just were beating the fuck out of each other, and I don't know if it was to a positive end. You know, they've done this before with Ronda, where they've had like a lot of like real fighting and whatnot, but it's kind of like, you know what, it comes off really well. Charlotte and Ronda beat each other up to fuck at Survivor Series, but I felt it worked for the angle. Here I was just kind of like, Ronda, you look at, like, why are you so battered up? Like, it just felt like, I don't know. The thing he said to me the other day, we were coming back in a cab, and he said, well, the women have finally grabbed the mantle, because not only have they headlined WrestleMania, they've had a disappointing main event of WrestleMania, which is true equality.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we skipped ahead like a little bit. Like,
we got what we asked for.
Yeah, so Becky picks up the win here, rolling up Ronda Rousey after she put her into the Piper's Pit kind of finishing hold. And I thought, and no one else has really been saying this, but the finish of the MMA badass who was pounding the shit out of their opponent, who then uses a little bit of the old tricksy, old-timey wrestling, quick roll-up, and the MMA star gets pinned 1, 2, 3, and then gets up and is like, wait a minute, what? My MMA instincts have made me kick out, but I'm not in time? That was the exact same finish as Matt Riddle and Velveteen Dream.
Yeah.
Like, I know he put him in a submission, and this was a finishing move, not a submission hold. But I felt the exact same facial expressions we got from Matt Riddle and Ronda Rousey. And if the take home for WrestleMania is that MMA stars' blind spot is roll-ups, then okay. But
quick, everyone.
So, come on, everyone get together, have the big team meeting. Who's doing what finish, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't like that. But also as though people were a bit perturbed by Ronda kicking out, like, right at the end.
Well, I heard that it
was a mistake she made.
I heard that she was supposed to be pinned and then she kicked out of it because that's her instinct as an MMA fighter, which is then why we got the roll-up pin.
Yeah, so...
But I don't know if that's true. I've not heard that confirmed.
I've heard that is the case as well.
Okay.
There are lots of things coming out, because I think the fact that they then had Corey Graves kind of go, look, she kicked out early, and they're bringing that up. I think that was them kind of realizing that they could maybe capitalize on the mistake and make you want to see a rematch, because Ronda can come back and say, I kicked out, you didn't beat me, which there's a story right there. But yeah, I mean, if your main event star don't know how to kick out of a fucking roll-up, then I don't know.
Maybe she needs more practice?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that is a bit of a blind spot there, you know? I think Ronda has been so adept and so quick to pick up on so many things. I think there is a little bit to be said about them maybe just assuming she can do absolutely everything now, which is not the case, you know? It wasn't the 5-star classic I thought it would be. It was a good main event. It wasn't a patch on Kofi and Bryan, but it held the attention of people like a main event that the previous years, like Brock and Roman, never held people's attention like this. So they did hold people's attention, and it got reactions. And I'm very happy for Becky.
Yeah, I am. I haven't got the feeling of great joy coming out of this that I thought I would, considering I got the outcome I wanted.
What is it, do you think, if there was one thing you say that was missing, what was the missing ingredient for you?
A climax. It didn't have one. Like, if you think of a match as being like a narrative of a story, like as a sitcom or like a TV episode or a movie or anything like that, it has like a natural climactic arc towards the end. And it felt like it was leading up to that, but it never happened. Yeah,
unfortunately, our climactic arc for Charlotte was exit pursued by an unbroken table, which just didn't really work in the main event. You know what? I don't understand how we're still with this fucking shit with the tables. We got tables that are like designed for much heavier men, and we need to either get new fucking tables or figure out moves, because this has happened so many times now with Charlotte as well.
It's a total disservice to the women's roster, I think.
Yeah, it really was a damp squib of a finish, I think, because of that, because Charlotte gets put through that table, it doesn't break, and then we get the weird roll-up thing where Ronda kind of kicks out.
Yeah.
That is not the kick-ass, bam, Becky Lynch has won. You know, that's not what we got.
It didn't feel like a WrestleMania main event should feel.
No.
Even though it does feel like a WrestleMania main event tends to feel.
Yeah, which I guess is the thing we need to accept with WrestleMania more often than not. But hey, all being said, not a better way to spend 7.5 hours if you want to spend it watching wrestling. I had a great time with WrestleMania this year. Not just because I had cats and pizza and good times with friends. It was a really fun show. That last stretch was a bit of a Debbie Downer, but I'll tell you what, the first 2/3 of that WrestleMania was pretty fucking great.
Yeah, it was a good WrestleMania on the whole, and I definitely enjoyed it.
A hearty thumbs up, and I would say as well, also check out NXT TakeOver. It was a really, really great show this year, particularly that tag match and the Fatal 4-Way with Bianca Belair, Io Shirai, Kairi Sane, and Shayna Baszler. Hey, I'm fucking ready for more Fatal 4-Ways with a great diverse roster of women like that.
Oh yeah.
Come on now, that's fucking great stuff. So it's going to be a busy month next month with WWE as we have a superstar shakeup, which means that some superstars from Raw and SmackDown will be trading places, which usually also means as well some call-ups from NXT. Lars Sullivan has finally emerged from his troll-infested forum to grace his presence on the main roster.
Yay.
Any hot picks for NXT call-ups that you would like to see?
I'd love to see Shayna.
Yeah.
I really, really want to see Shayna. She's done everything now at NXT, and I'm getting bored of her just winning all the time, and I'm worried she's going to get stale. I don't want her to be kept on as, like, you know, champion just forever like they've done with some other people in the past, because I don't think she needs it.
Yeah.
So I would move her up. I think I'm not in any worry either that she's going to get, like, neglected on the main show. I don't think that's going to happen with someone like her.
She's a star. She's one of the horsewomen as well. There's no way that they're not going to be putting her over strong.
Yeah.
I don't know if we need anyone else call up, seeing as we had call-ups only like 2 months ago, really. You know, we had Heavy Machinery and EC3 and all this, that, and the other, so I don't know.
I don't know. Part of me wants to see Bianca Belair on the main show.
That would be awesome.
But that's just me wanting her just huge, massive fame and success.
I would like to see, maybe this year for Superstar Shake-Up, some people go to NXT.
Yes.
Love that.
I would love that.
That would be cool.
Nia Jax and Tamina. I want them to go to NXT. No, I do. Seriously.
Yeah, I know Vince doesn't though. So.
No.
And of course, next month as well, we will have Money in the Bank 2019, which will be our next pay-per-view that we'll be reviewing. In the meantime, glad everyone had a lovely time at WrestleMania. I've never had my timeline so filled with pictures of fruit and vegetables that people are enjoying. It's good to see that the primer was helpful for folks. Really, really glad to see that. But hey, we'll be back next month with Money in the Bank 2019. Until next time, it's a goodbye from me, Kevin.
And a goodbye from me, Joe.
Thanks for being a $5 backer, and we'll see you next time on How to Wrestling.
See ya.